Hello, and thank you for joining us for Humanities DC's 2020 DC Documentary Short Film Partnership Grant Webinar. My name is Andrea Carol McNeil, and I'm a Grants Manager with Humanities DC. For short, we will call the grant opportunity DC Docs. So I know that we have a lot of new potential applicants. So I just wanted to start the webinar with some general information about Humanities DC for you. So there are 56 humanities councils throughout the country and its territories. And so Humanities DC focuses on Washington, DC. We, each of us as affiliates, receive support from National Endowment for the Humanities. We are a private nonprofit organization. We are not a federal agency nor a district agency. And we fund and conduct humanities-based programming in DC in all 8 wards. So our mission is to enrich the quality, Our mission is to enrich the quality of life, foster intellectual stimulation, promote cross-cultural understanding, and to promote the appreciation of local history in all neighborhoods of the district through humanities programs and our grant opportunities. So our vision, and I'll just read it for you. Humanities DC believes that an in-depth conversation of the issues that affect us as individuals and as society can make a positive impact on our lives, and believes each citizen can participate in our vision to transform lives through the power of the humanities. And I think that is kind of a bigger piece of what we try to focus on, transforming life through the power of humanities. So what are the humanities? The humanities tells us what it means to be human. For me, I like to give a kind of a general sense of it. It's how people process and document the human experience. So how people process and how people document the human experience. And so with that, they are a study of aspects of the human society and its culture. And through that are the humanities disciplines like history, anthropology, which studies our past, like our stories past. The expressions are through literature, linguistics, languages, and arts. And our stories' values are through ethics, philosophy, and comparative religion. And we'll talk more about how your humanities disciplines will be woven into the project and what that looks like further through the presentation. So for the for the 2020 DC Docs program, this is an opportunity for short films only, and I'll go through that definition with you shortly. The awards are up to $35,000 for each applicant, for each awardee. There's no preliminary applications that are required, and the deadline is Friday, May 15th, 11:59 p.m. So in addition to the general financial support that we'll provide, we are looking for established filmmakers, which we'll outline a little bit more through the slides as well, but established filmmakers interested in telling humanities stories about Washington, DC. So of course, the story must be about DC. Potential project must incorporate humanities scholarship, and the selected partners will have an opportunity to work with HDC staff through capacity building opportunities and networking and support throughout the life of the grant. So the grant period will be July 8th, 2020 through July 8th, 2021. We are very much keeping in mind what is going on with the world as relates to COVID-19, that things are pretty much on pause right now. So what we will do is to continue to monitor that, and we may be looking at adjusting the project period. So for now, the grant applications are due May 15th. Once awarded or throughout that process, we'll be monitoring to determine when and how we will adjust our grant periods just to coincide with life itself. So we will keep everyone posted on that. Incomplete or late applications will not be considered. So when you click submit, please make sure that your package is complete. I cannot accept emails after the application is due with attachments. So anytime before the 15th, if you submit it prior to that, you can go back in. After the 15th at 11:59, you cannot. So what we're looking for, prospective projects, they should include a mid-career established filmmaker. So we need somebody who has evidence of their past successes. And so that could also mean you've done a very exciting film project, and it could be via your iPhone. We need to see evidence that you are capable of putting forth the level and quality of a final product that we're looking for. So we will be looking for samples. We'll be looking at your CV. So please provide us with any of your career successes that we can consider as a part of your application, whether it's a filmmaker, project director, or anybody associated with the project. We will need to see CVs, and we are asking for sample work. So informed humanities scholars, someone who's knowledgeable about your topic as well as your humanities discipline or disciplines that you have chosen to support your project. And again, it does not have to be just one humanities discipline, but multiple to support your project. It's just fine. And then, of course, we're looking for innovative, unique, and of strong educational interest to a wide public audience. So those are kind of the things that we are looking for in general. What is a short documentary film? And so we looked to the Academy Awards for that. The 91st Academy Awards provides a definition for their submissions, and we took it from there. And so I think the biggest question I've been asked is how long? So 40 minutes or less is what we are requiring for the short documentary film. And you'll see the definition here. You can refer back to it. But of course, nonfiction. And I think the biggest piece of that is 40 minutes or less. I'll tell you a little bit down the road, too, about what some of the 2019 documentary film grantees are doing as relates to their time of their projects. What is a scholar? So we're asked this question a lot. And so this lays it out for us that a scholar may be a working academic professional, but again, maybe it doesn't have to be. So this person can be somebody with an advanced degree who is in the field of humanities or one of them the fields of humanities that you have chosen for your project. It could also be a person that may lack an advanced degree from a university, but may be a recognized subject matter expert. So for your humanities scholar, we will also request a resume or CV if that person does not have it as a subject matter expert, because it could be, we've had different people serve in that role, and then you would just need to gather the information for their CV to provide to us so that we'll understand and know what their role is in the project and what are they bringing to the project. In either case, you need to vet that person and have that person support your project, and we will need to have that information, in the application. So goals and impact. So these are I think more general statements that are a part of the application. What impact do you hope this project will have when completed, and what do you hope the audiences will take away from your film project? And I think these two questions are important because it kind of just lends to the overarching reason of why you picked your topic, what will it do, and really begin to think about that, because you'll need to add kind of these pieces to your story to make it complete, kind of the impact and the goals that you have for your project. Working closely with HDC grant staff. So we talked about that. And I mean, what that means is that as a program or as a grant manager, I will and we will support you. We are looking to have a cohort experience, which has worked pretty well so far, getting together the grantees and responding to what your needs and what your challenges are, and then providing that support from a capacity building arm. I've enjoyed building the relationships with our grantees. Our grantees have enjoyed the networking opportunities that have occurred through this grant process, through these grant processes. So we're looking forward to continue that piece. And then I think everybody has just been a sounding board for each other. And it's just been a unique opportunity for people to get in the same room and really discuss their ideas and network with one another. So we're continuing to provide that cohort experience, and we're looking forward to that for 2020. So collaboration and community involvement is something that Humanities DC has done and been a part of for a long time. And we are looking for you to identify your community partners. What role will they play in the promotion, development, or funding of the project? And how will you solicit community and public scholar input in this project? So that is a part of the application, and we're looking for some thoughtful responses to that. And how will you come as a documentary filmmaker and work with the community as a part of telling your story? So the application narrative, to get into more of the meat of the application, looking at how you will focus on the mission and vision of Humanities DC, providing a clear synopsis of your story. How do you plan to explore the selected humanities disciplines, and why is this story important? And so I think the humanities scholar, this is where they come in, and you have a great story idea. You know that you have some humanities elements in there, and you really need to expound on them and make certain that those disciplines are woven into your story appropriately. And so in the narrative is where we'll see, and when you'll get your assistance from your scholar to help lay that out and make a great story map as it relates to what your goals are for your film. And so reading this part of the application is, I think a lot of effort should be put into that so that the grant reviewers can really understand where you're coming from with your ideas. So for 2019, just want to go through this very quickly as it relates to the program from last year and this year. So last year, the documentary program was piloted. Humanities DC has supported documentary films in the past, but it has not been a documentary film grant. So we do not have samples of what's been funded. They are in the midst of their grant project period right now. So just wanted to kind of go over what happened last year, who were the grantees, so that you can get an idea. So there, of course, we were piloted last year. We awarded 7 grant opportunities up to $30,000. So everyone did not request $30,000. So we were able to do 7 grant opportunities, and there were upwards to 35 applicants. The 2019 grantee film topics were the 7 were Billy Stewart, who's a Washingtonian entertainer and pianist. He was, I think, a blues singer. DC voting rights, statehood, homelessness as it relates to the tent cities in DC, architecture video series that honors architects that designed buildings in Washington, D.C., Jazz Church, which is a very popular program that happens at Westminster Presbyterian Church, and the 1991 riot in Columbia Heights, and lastly, the former DC Farmers Market, which we know as Union Market today. So sample work and an explanation. So for each application, we're requiring a sample of work to provide us the URL through YouTube or Vimeo. If there's a password, please provide that password in the application, and our grant reviewers will be able to easily access that. Please explain the selection that you're providing us, outline what role the filmmaker or the project director had in the creation of this work, and please lay that out for our grant reviewers so that they can know and understand why this sample work was provided. So new eligibility requirements in 2020. For this year, for all of our grant programs, your organization or your fiscal sponsor must be a DC-based 501c3 nonprofit organization. So the organization cannot be based in Maryland, Virginia. It must be operated in DC, and we will not accept a PO box. So we'll need to have that. So it must be a registered organization in DC. Then the organization must be registered and in compliance with various agencies as applicable. So we outline the DC organizations as well as the IRS. If you have not had any business with these organizations, then you very well should be in compliance. But if you have any outstanding issues, we're not going to be able to move forward in the grant process. And so that happens very early. It happens prior to your eligibility, prior to us reviewing your actual application. So these are the first steps. If your organization is not a 50C3 organization and not based in DC, we are not able to move forward with your application. And if these other things do not happen, we are not either. Lastly, all applicants must comply with the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990. Provide plans for compliance of the act, and how will the project be inclusive, diverse, equitable, and accessible. And so these things too are in preparation for, if you're a smaller organization, being able to apply for funds on a national level. Most national organizations do require the ADA piece already, and other organizations require you to be in compliance with the DC and federal agencies. So please take some time with that. If you have any questions about any of this presentation or the application, I am available, and my information will be at the end of the presentation, but always available to answer questions via email or calls throughout the application process. So requirements and information. Project directors of awarded applications must attend a required initial kickoff award ceremony. Currently, I have that as July 2020. That is right now a moving date. If we move the project period back or forward, then we will move this meeting forward, and we will be in contact with those that are awarded the grant. For the DC Docs grant opportunity, there's a 1-to-1 match. So if you are requesting $25,000, we will need to see a match of $25,000 of cash or in kind. And again, cash or in kind contributions. We will, throughout the grant period, schedule technical assistance sessions after you have submitted your quarterly report. So we'll request a quarterly narrative and budget. We will, and the we is I, will contact you to have a quarterly meeting. Sometimes I come out to the grantees site. I sit in a filming session. I talk to the entire group on the phone or do a webinar. It just depends on the quarter. All projects must participate in joint marketing. And so we help at the end, whether there be a film festival or just support of how we're going to screen your film, support when the grant is issued. We provide a communications guide to assist you throughout the process. And so finally, the final product, the documentary short film grant, will be collected from us, all 40 minutes or less of it, and will be put in our DC Digital Museum. If for whatever reason you are applying to a film festival, we will pause the addition of your project to the DC Digital Museum or any screenings that we are thinking of or participating in until it is more feasible for your project to be entered in or shown. So we will work with you on an individual basis to complete that and make certain that that happens. So project team, each applicant will have to identify the roles of their project team. So first, the organizational sponsor, you will need to identify that person or that organization. You can log into the portal without an organization. You can put in a dummy organization, put an EIN in, but then go back and put it once you secure your organizational sponsor. And if your organizational sponsor is someone organization who's applied for Humanities DC funds, before you log in, give us a call so you won't create multiple logins for that organization, and we can create you a username attached to them so that everything is in the system properly. Because if you do not have the proper EIN and name in the system, our system check will come back and it will show that your fiscal sponsor or organizational sponsor is not a 501c3, and that will deem your project ineligible. So we don't want that to happen. So we want to make sure that everything in the system is correct, so that when we push that button, everything shakes out for your eligibility and we can move your application to the next step. So project director, a filmmaker, which those two can be the same person, project director and filmmaker, a humanities scholar, which cannot be the same person, and a project bookkeeper. That person can only have one role, and the project bookkeeper cannot hold any other role in the project that you assign. Application budget. So when we talk about the one-to-one match for your budget, here it is, and we ask you to lay it out here. These are our categories. They're not lengthy. So if you find yourself in your budgeting, you have several categories, please find where they best fit in what we've laid out. The first column, Humanities DC funds requested. If you are requesting $28,000 for your project, please outline your budget request here and entering in those columns. Please include your cost share for cash and in-kind in the next two columns. Those two columns should total the requested amount in column one. So column one is $28,000. Column 2 and 3 should equal $28,000. If you have any questions about that, please let us know. And we can assist you in working out your budget. If you have any questions about that, let us know. But again, cash and in kind. So the budget narrative to go along with your budget, we ask that you break down or break out the items listed in your budget sheet, and please be clear and concise. I am reviewing it. The grant reviewers are reviewing it. Please do not leave anything to our imagination. We want to make certain that you have a strong budget and that what you've laid out, and that you can clearly explain to us how that money will be spent, or if there's in kind, please let us know so that we get a clear vision, not of just your application narrative, but that your budget aligns and is in sync with what your project ideas are. What do we fund? So on the left is Humanities DC grants funds, what we can fund and what we do not fund. So make certain that your project bookkeeper has this list. If you have any questions about those, let me know. Project supplies, supplies that go specifically towards your project, not just pencils and Post-its for the office. not a full copy machine for your office, but for the project. Venue rental fees, yes. Renting your office space, no. Speaker or scholar honorarium, if you have a humanities scholar and you have a line item for that person's honorarium, perfect. Project transportation, yes. Food and beverage, no. Please do not include food in your budget. You can include food in your cost share of cash or in kind if you get those things donated, but please do not put them in the requested funds for Humanities DC. You can rent equipment. Please take into consideration what in-kind donation of equipment looks like. That's definitely been done in the past. Marketing and promotion, exhibit design or just construction and project consultant fees are yes. We will not fund performing arts projects or memberships of any kind for you, the project, or your project team. So this is just a quick list of do's and don'ts. Of course, break down the items listed in your budget sheet. Do state clearly the goals of your project. Again, please have someone else read your application, your narrative, someone who is not tied to your project, and listen to the questions that they ask you. If they ask you questions, please think about where you need to add the answers to what they've asked so that your application is very clear to us when we are reading it. Do try to anticipate and answer reviewer questions. And that's kind of an exercise that you could do to anticipate reviewer questions, having someone else read your application for you. You can include letters from partner organizations acknowledging the partnership, but please do not include letters of support from organizations or individuals that do not involved or aren't directly involved with this particular program. So a couple slides about the terms of the award. We expect you to document all grant expenditures, and that's when the bookkeeper comes into mind. If you have a fiscal sponsor, typically they assign a bookkeeper or an accountant to your project, and so that person will gather all your receipts, have everything to hold to the end, and they will submit your quarterly budget and narrative to us. Of course, you have to work with that person so that they can understand everything that's going on, but that's who that person is. We will award the full amount of the grant upon the signature of the partnership agreement. You'll be required to submit, again, the quarterly narratives and the budget report. Any changes in your scope or your budget of this project must be communicated with us in writing, and we will talk about that. I will be in communication with you. You can send proposed changes to me prior to your report is due, and we can discuss it, and you put it in your report. And the grant conditions that will be signed will constitute a legally binding contract between Humanities DC and the sponsoring organization. 100% of the awarded grant funds must be applied to direct program costs. Kind of talked about that in the budget. If the applicant has a fiscal sponsor, you can charge up to 10% of the fiscal sponsor, and that may be fees related to the sponsorship, like having an accountant. Some organizations charge a 10, some don't. It just depends on the relationship with the filmmaker or other individual for whatever grant it is. All documentary shorts produced as part of this partnership opportunity will be collected by Humanities DC and made available in the DC Digital Museum. So ultimately, that's where the project will go. If there are film festivals or any of those things associated with the film, those things are allowable, but we will have the final 40 minutes put in the DC Digital Museum. Right now, some of our grantees have raised additional funds. They've made their program longer. They made their project longer. They made it longer to work with PBS. They made it longer because they have more information, but they will ultimately give us the 40 minutes they owe us the 40 minutes, but you definitely are allowed to make it longer. You can, and later in time, if you choose, make it longer as long as you raise the additional funds to do so, which is exciting to see all of it happening for our current grantees. But the requirement of the DC documentary short film grant is 40 minutes or less. How to submit an application. So you can find the applications online on our website at humanitiesdc.org. If you go under the grants tab, you can click on DC Docs Partnership Grant, and you'll find the RFP, and you click to apply in the grant portal. You log in or you register. As I mentioned before, if the organization has applied before, there's a little tab that you look at. You can call us and we'll make you a username on there if you are the person that is entering all the information. You click and apply DC Docs and you move forward. Again, that's the area where you note if the organization that you're applying under has an account already. Just follow those instructions. If you'd like to print the application, so this is the only way to get the application is to go into the portal. You click the application, grant application, and you look at question list. Click that, and then you can print the questions from the application in its entirety for your review. And that is all for today. If you have any additional questions, comments, want to have a conversation about your particular idea or project, please contact me. Again, my name is Andrea. We are working from home as everyone else is, so please, you can send me an email, outline your questions in the email. I will look forward to those. Shoot me an email and say if you'd like to have, set up a meeting. Very much interested in talking to anybody about their project. Usually take 30-minute calls to do that. I am at A. McNeil, WDCHumanities.org. Please feel free to do that. And I thank you for your time. Look forward to your applications and good luck. Thank you and have a great day and be safe.